Yeah, thank you very much, Sebastian. And first of all, I would also like to thank the Mשואה Institute and my colleagues from FES Israel for this cooperation. I'm very pleased to be here and to have the opportunity, together with Sebastian, to present our most recent studies on right-wing extremism in Europe. Now we are more focusing on the German level and on anti-Semitism in Germany. I think what has become very clear in Sebastian's presentation is that right-wing extremism or racism or group-focused enmity is really a Europe-wide problem. And having a look on the facts and figures we are presenting in our studies, it becomes very clear that that in Eastern Europe there is even a higher dynamic in this field. However, we have to see that, and I don't have to explain it, but this is something really special in Germany and really unbearable to see what's still going on in this field in Germany. And therefore the Friedrich-Abraham Foundation for a long time has decided to put a strong focus in our political education and our research activities on this issue, the issue of right-wing extremism and, of course, anti-Semitism as one element. Sebastian presented a figure where you saw that actually right-wing extremism is composed by different dimensions, and what we see, and I will come back to this in my presentation, is that usually these dimensions are interlinked, so they are usually not separated and isolated, but people who are thinking maybe who are very strong, let's say, against homosexuals, usually they also have other elements of authoritarian right-wing extremism or racist thinking. So what I'm going to do now in the next, let's say, 15 minutes is to present you very briefly some of the findings in this study, which is unfortunately only in German. We don't have an English version like in the case of our European volume. However, I want to explain you very briefly the methodology. So it's a representative survey in Germany. It's a face-to-face survey, and the total number of Germans who participated in this study is 2,415 in the East and in the West, and our partner in this project has been the University of Leipzig. As I said, we are talking about right-wing extremism. You could also name it group-focused enmity or racism. The core element is always the creation of a hierarchy, the concept of inequality, so that one is identifying certain groups. It's a kind of prejudiced thinking, and so I devaluate this group in order to feel better myself. That's a socio-psychological process. And here you can see the 6 dimensions in that survey, which contains a long-term study on these attitudes, meaning that since 2002, it's not the whole study. There are more elements in this study, but one of the core elements is a questionnaire, and this questionnaire has been used in the same way and with the same items since 2002. And this gives us the possibility to understand how attitudes are changing. And I'm now talking on the level of attitudes. So the subject right now is not extremist right-wing parties or electoral behavior or whatsoever. So we are here concentrating on the level of attitudes because we think it's an important issue who is underestimated often also in public debates and discourses. Sebastian mentioned the German elections. And fortunately, the NPD didn't manage to succeed so much. However, having a look on the figures and facts I present today, you can see that there is no reason to not to act. Yeah. So one thing is the social behavior, the electoral behavior, and the other thing is how people are thinking and what is actually the potential also in case, let's say, someone like Wilders or I don't know will appear one day in Germany. I hope this won't be the case, but we have to also have a look on this level of attitude. So here you see again, similar to the figure Sebastian presented in our European comparative study, the dimensions are not exactly the same, but similar. Of course, homophobia, for instance, is also one component of this way of thinking. This is lacking in this questionnaire because, as I said, the questionnaire started in 2002, and this dimension has not been among the dimensions the questionnaire is working with. Okay. Again, very briefly, similar to the other studies, the people who participated had a range of possibilities to answer, from I completely disagree to this item to I completely agree. And you see that for each answer, some points are given, and finally we arrive at the score, and the score or the threshold score for being counted as having a closed right-wing extremist worldview is 63. Okay, here now you can see, and this is not yet the dimension of anti-Semitism. I will later speak in detail. This is what we are calling a closed extreme right-wing view of the world, meaning threshold 63 or more, as I said before. And if you compare the results between 2002 and 2012, you can see that for whole Germany there's a slight decrease from 9.7 to 9.0, but having no, actually it's not a slide. It's a slide. But having a look on the development in Western Germany, you can see actually a significant decrease from 11.3 to 7.3. But, and now comes the but, having a look on what's happening in the so-called new Länder, meaning the former GDR. So the amount of people with this kind of thinking almost doubled from 8.1 to almost 16%. And I will leave all the aspects of reasons and also counter strategies to our panel discussion later on. Due to the time frame, I will just very briefly present you some of the findings of the results. And this is really a dramatic finding. Also addressing really a challenge to all who are working in the field of education, be it in schools or outside schools, political parties, civil society, media, all who are involved, not at least in combating and coping this problem. We have to face this fact that the situation in the East is much worse than in the West. Here again, so I also I have to be brief, so just very quickly a view on this. Here again, you see the 6 dimensions of our study, and what you see is that in all dimensions, the rate of people being in favor of these items is higher, is stronger in the East, and this is also different to the former studies we conducted. Usually anti-Semitism has been stronger in the West. But again, here in this kind of anti-Semitic items which were used, the picture changed. Okay, now coming to the core subject of my brief presentation, the findings on anti-Semitism in Germany. Here again, this are the results from our most recent study from 2012. And here you see the items we used. For example, even today, Jewish influence is still excessive, as an example. And you see also that compared between East and West, in this dimension, it's actually balanced, but the degree of compliance reaches, in that case, almost 20%. Here, again, very briefly, the interesting thing is what we found out here is the correlation, meaning which degree of influence one element of this kind of thinking has to the dimension of anti-Semitism. And the result is that the highest and the strength and relation, the most relevant one is the one between chauvinism and anti-Semitism. And this is interesting because you can have a look in the book on the items in this dimension of chauvinism. Usually we are people asking us, well, do you think that really being in favor of a strong foreign policy has something to do with right-wing extremism? That's something quite normal. If you would ask people in whatsoever in Italy or France or the States, no one would care on this. Here you can say that's not so easy, that the highest correlation is between chauvinism, even though these are the softest items, and anti-Semitic thinking. And this applies to both categories of anti-Semitism, the primary anti-Semitic attitude, which is actually somehow the classic way of anti-Semitic thinking, and the so-called secondary anti-Semitism. Maybe we can come back later if you're interested in our panel discussion, which is actually related to the Holocaust, to the Shoah, a specific, a special kind of anti-Semitism related to German history. For instance, the item that the Jewish people today are trying to seek benefit from the Holocaust. That's a typical secondary anti-Semitic item. Here you can see the differentiation between, as I explained, the classical, the primary anti-Semitism. These are slightly different items than in the questionnaire I mentioned before, which has been used since 2002. However, this is interesting if you have a look on the numbers on the mostly agree and completely agree. You see a really high and a strong support for these items. However, if you compare this, for example, with the findings when it comes to Islamism, meaning a strong and general rejection of Islam as a religion and of Muslims as citizens, in that case of Islamophobia, the numbers are even stronger. So I think I skipped this, having a look on the time here. But this is really interesting because on one hand you have the differentiation between primary and secondary anti-Semitism. You see that this specific kind of anti-Semitism, what we call secondary anti-Semitism, is stronger in the West than in the East. And what you see, having a look on the category of Muslim people who participated in the survey, you see that in the category of primary anti-Semitism, it's even higher compared to all other groups, also to the total. Meaning we have in Germany a problem with anti-Semitism in the Muslim population. Maybe that's not so surprising, but when we are asking ourselves and also those who are responsible for education, I think that's really a challenge. And I come back to this later, and I really say, maybe this is also a point for our discussion, that we have to be more aware of the fact that the German society is diverse, and that we have not at least a young generation with a migrant background, and often these young people bring another kind of anti-Semitism with them from their origin, from their cultural backgrounds, and this is mixing up with prejudices, and anti-Semitic prejudices still existing in Germany. And again, I think this is an aspect we should have in focus on. Age, that's actually like in other European countries, not only concerning anti-Semitism, but also in the other categories of racist thinking, that usually this is growing with the age. There's one exception which is alarming. That's another table. I don't have this as a slide, but you can see it in the book, that in the East, in Eastern Germany, the youngest group have in 4 from 6 dimensions the strongest agreement with anti-Semitic items, which is actually other way around compared with the usual development of age. And this again shows us that it's a quite challenging situation, in particular in the East. Finally, I want to come back to the issue of let's say right-wing or racist attitudes among the migrant population. This is the first time that the Friedrich-Abraham Foundation has put a strong focus on this, so we always have different socio-demographical aspects in which we are on which we are looking in order to have a detailed result. For the first time, we included a group of Germans and also immigrants without German citizenship in our sample, and the results are interesting. Again, especially here, the 16% of immigrants who do not have a German citizenship but who are living in Germany, which is higher than the average, shows us that this is a challenge we shouldn't ignore, I would say. And again, here you can see not only anti-Semitism, but also the other categories from our questionnaire. By the way, the first one being in favor of a right-wing authoritarian dictatorship, as you can see, the agreement with this dimension, the items, is relatively low, which is good. We do not have so much good results in our survey, so I'm mentioning this. It's good, and it's also it's also, you can also see that almost 95% of the people are thinking in general that democracy is the best model of a state. So the agreement to this on this level, on this general level, is also reflected by this low agreement to a right-wing dictatorship. However, having a look on the other results, that's not that positive. And if you have a look on the anti-Semitism and you compare the 8.8 and the 6.7 Germans without immigrant background and with immigrant background and German citizenship, you see that with 14.7%, the result for this group is even significant higher. So, at that point, I say thank you very much for your attention, and I leave all the rest, the discussion of reasons, the discussion of counter strategies, maybe also including how to focus on this challenge that there's a young generation who does not share the same experiences also when it comes to the subject of the Shoah in school and outside schools. And you know, and our educational experts know that there are concepts, but my feeling is they are not yet enough implemented. And we all in Germany, but also on the international level, should exchange and should share our experiences in order to be better in implementing the concepts and in finding maybe even better concepts in the future. Thank you very much.